Alright, another thing I want to show you is how to create more complicated objects, and this technique will make you a professional modeler. So uh, let's just use a cylinder for this one, and there we go. And let's just say you want some kind of complicated shape from here, the cylinder. And if you're going to model it, it might be a bit difficult, but I'll show you how you can get around it. Right, so basically it's we use like curve projection. Okay, so you create a curve, you project it on the geometry, you cut it up, and right, okay, so I'm not going to explain it because you probably think, what am I talking about? I might as well just show you. So the first thing I'll do is I'll make sure I've got enough resolution. So the vertical resolution is kind of more or less fine, but we ain't got any going across. So you can go to the polycylinder here, and it says subdivision height only one. Click drag and just add some more resolution, something like this. Okay, now another thing I tend to do, now it kind of depends on what you're doing and the shape, but I tend to always get rid of the faces at the top of the model and at the bottom. There you go, because they're not needed. And if we need to kind of close the gap afterwards, I like to do that right at the end. So I like to just focus on the shape itself and not worry about the thickness, the top and the bottom. Alright, so basically this is just kind of like the basic preparation. Another thing I like to do is I want to make sure that there's more than enough resolution. So if you go to mesh and smooth, click on it, and it just gives you more resolution, as you can see. Now if you want to, you can go to town, like 2, 3, it, as many as you want. Usually one's fine. Sometimes I might go to 2, but let's do 2 at this point. And I like to delete history just to get rid of this options box, and also the history that pulls up here. So boom, they're gone. Alright, okay, so let's create our kind of weird shape that we want to do. So imagine like this is some character, I don't know, like his arm or something, and you want to create some like body armor, or he's got some kind of shape on his arm, shoulder, or something. I don't know, whatever. But let's create some kind of weird shape. So the next thing I like to do is go to create and then curve tools, and then you've got the CV curve tool. Boom. And then you don't want to click on it in the perspective view because like kind of like nothing really happens, or it's all the way over there, the curve. It's just crazy. What you want to do is go in the front view or side view. In this instance, let's do the front view. You can also hit 4 just to see the wireframe version. And basically you just want to create your weird shape like that. Now I started outside the shape. You don't have to start that much outside. You can start like just a little bit outside, but make sure the curve begins and ends outside the geometry. There we go. Now hit center pivot. So when we hit W to move, the pivot is in the center of the curve, so it's easy to pull out. If not, it's over here. Now you can still, manage to pull out the curve if it's down here, but it's just a habit of mine to center the pivot, pull it forward. The reason we've got to pull it forward is because we want to project this curve onto this geometry here. So select the curve, hold down shift, select the geometry, and then you want to project curve on mesh, open it, edit, reset. Now I like to project current view direction. So if you want it straight on, it's best to do it in the front view. So project curve. Boom. Let's take a look. The curve has been projected. Now bear in mind it goes all the way through and does 2 sides. We only want the front one side, so just ignore the second side. So we've projected the curve, and the curve is selected. So hold down shift and click on the geometry. So now we've got the curve and the geometry selected. Go back to edit mesh and say split mesh with projected curve. Boom. And as you can see, the mesh is split, and you can tell that because the edges is much thicker. So there we go. But it's still one piece, as you move it, you see. So shift right mouse button click. You want to go to separate, or just look for it under the menu there, separate. Boom. So we actually don't want this. It's this weird pattern we wanted. By the way, the reason why we don't want this, I forgot to mention, is when I do something like this, let's just say this was the character's arm, I make a copy of the arm. So what I'm deleting is the copy, so his arm still remains. So this is what we have. Next thing I like to do is to split this, or just delete half is what I should have said really. So there we go, because you only want to model one half and then just mirror it over. Okay, so this is what we have, and you think, oh, that's a pretty cool shape. However, if you go into vertex mode, you can see it's really messy. You see, and you cannot have all these vertices. Especially if you hit 3, it's not going to give you your desired result. You can actually delete the curves as well at this point. Look how jaggedy the edges. So you need nice clean topology where it's all four-sided faces. But how do you do that? Well, there is a tool called Retopologize. So open up the options box. I'm going to reset it and keep original, preserve hard edges. Don't want to keep original. Preserve hard edges is if you've got like some straight edges. So this is straight, and then it was straight here, straight there. We don't. It's very curved, so we don't have to worry about preserve hard edges. Now target face count 1,000. That's a lot. I'll show you. Apply. Look at that. That's too much. Now it goes green. Ignore it. It's a bug. We'll deal with that in a second. So 1,000 is too much. So I tend to bring it down quite a lot. Say 100. And if you take a look at it, you're like, yeah, it's not too bad really. 100, maybe I can do less than 100. Let's do 50. I'm like, yeah, that's alright. Close it. Now the reason why it goes green, it's just a bug in Maya. What that means is that there's no material on this object now. So right click, just say assign existing material, and it's Lambert 1, which is the default material. Boom. And you got your material back. Let's delete history. Let's press 3. Now it's kind of getting there, nice and smooth, but if you take a look at the topology, it's all cleaned up now. You see, it's all cleaned up. You got perfect quads, full-sided shape. Now you can mirror, so we're going to mirror like -Z. So mesh, mirror, let's have a look, world, Z, minus, mirror. There you go. Okay. Now, just out of interest, you've got these kind of pointed edges here. Can you see? When you hit 3, the edges get a bit pointed. How'd you deal with that? Well, okay, a couple of things. One, normally once you create shapes, they tend to have a bit of thickness to them. So to create thickness, you want to do extrude and just kind of bring it in a little bit, or you can bring it out. It depends. If you bring it in, be mindful that the geometry is now turned black, which just means it's inside out. So go to mesh display and just do reverse, and there you go. So now let's hit 3, and it's not bad. It's not bad. And you say, right, okay, well, I need some edge loops now just to sharpen the edges. Multi-cut. I want to make sure edge flow switched off. It is, and so one there and one there. And now let's hit 3, and it's not bad. However, you've still got a bit of sharpness here. Can you see? Here and there. Now, if we go all the way back, Control Z, to the point before we do the thickness, the sharpness is more noticeable. And so it's like, well, how'd you fix it? You can fix it before you do the thickness. And what you basically need to do is to just create an edge loop, really, that goes all the way around the model. Now again, we mirrored this, so we can just delete half, because all you need to do is just mirror it over. There we go. So by creating an edge loop that goes around the model here, when you hit 3, it's now looking much smoother, as you can see. And it's just a little bit sharper there, and that is because we have a very short distance between these two edges and a much longer distance between these two edges. So if you want to, you can grab this edge and go to mesh tool, slide edge, and say, well, I'm just going to, so middle mouse, click, drag, and so I just want to bring it down a little bit to around here. But it may change the shape slightly. However, you will get a much smoother edge. But if you're worried about the change in shape, what you can do is grab this edge and then hold down D, which allows you to move the manipulator. Click here, you can see align. Click on it. The manipulator now aligns with the direction of the edge, and you can just kind of move it forward a bit. So just to maintain that volume, and maybe down a bit more and up. So now it's smooth and it still maintains the original volume. Same here, as you can see here with this edge here. Slide the edge across, but as you can see, as you're sliding it, it's losing volume here. It's going to give you a smoother result now because it's not as close to one side. You see, if your edges are too close, that's how you get this kind of sharpness. So you brought it into the about center here, but it's lost some of its volume. So again, D, click on it to align and just kind of push it out a bit more and across, just to maintain its volume. And there you have it. So you think, yeah, I'm happy with that. So now you can do the mirror, and then you can do the extrude. So you bring it in, it's inside out, reverse it, and then you're like, okie dokie, let's grab the multi-cut and create some hard edges. That's pretty good. Boom. There you go. So you've got your weird shape. And nice, smooth, rounded edges. Just one other thing I quickly want to show you. If you zoom in really close, even though this is smooth mesh mode, so 1 is low res, 3 is high res, so you can take a look at what it's going to look like before you rendered. It's kind of like smooth mesh preview. But if you're going really close, you can still see it's a bit jaggedy. See, faceted, you see. So it's not 100% smooth. Only when you go back it kind of looks smooth. The reason for that is it's very low res. Your geometry is very low res. Now you don't want to start adding more geometry. You're just going to complicate things. So if you're worried about this, especially if it's a close-up and you want it to be smoother, just go to Attribute Editor, go to Smooth Mesh, and can you see here, it defaults at 2. Bump it up to 3. As you can see, it's much smoother now. So there you go, that's how you can create some really nice, cool, weird, amazing shapes using the project curve on mesh, then split mesh with projected curve, and then that gives you your shape. But remember, the topology is a total mess, and then you have to go into mesh to use your Retopologize, and that will give you clean mesh. As you can see, every single face on this object is four-sided. You see, there's no messy geometry, so you've got nice clean geometry. Okie dokie.